There's a lot of news from the south today. While the Ukrainian army continued offensive operations on the front line, there were many new developments. The Ukrainian army continued offensive operations in the southern region. The Ukrainian army organized many HIMARS attacks in this region. The Ukrainian army had increased HIMARS attacks over the past week. The Ukrainian army carried out more than 20 HIMARS attacks, weakening the Russian defenses. The Ukrainian army intends to focus on the southern region and weaken the Russian defense at this point. Storm Shadow, SCALP Neptune and Trap missiles were used during the Ukrainian army's extensive offensive operations in Crimea. The Ukrainian army actually carried out a very strategic and clever operation here. As soon as the Russians detected the Ukrainian SU-24M aircraft taking off, they thought that Ukraine would hit the Kerch bridge and directed the Russian jets towards this area. Then the Russians placed smoke screens around the bridge and waited for the attack. But Ukraine's target was not the bridge. The Ukrainian army launched a large number of decoys and anti-radiation rockets from the Kherson region, leaving the Russian air defense systems helpless. Ukrainian missiles successfully hit their target, but it was not the Kerch bridge, but the ship factory in the Kerch region. The Ukrainian army carried out an excellent operation, distracting Russia. However, there were several developments on the front line on 8th of November and 9th of November. The Russians organized counteroffensive operations on the Kupiansk front. The Ukrainian army responded strongly to these attacks and successfully repelled 6 Russian attacks in this area. The Ukrainian army continues to strengthen the defense blocks on the Kupiansk front. The Russians also carried out offensive operations on the Liman front. The Ukrainian army also managed to repel the Russian offensive in the Novhorivka region. The Russian attack to weaken the Ukrainian defense blocks was not very serious, but Ukraine prevented this attack. It carried out unsuccessful offensive actions in the Novhorivka area in the Luhansk region, and organized an aviation attack near Spirne in the Donetsk region. About 10 settlements were affected by enemy artillery and mortar shelling. The Russian army also conducted operations on the Bakhmut front to weaken Ukrainian defenses. The Ukrainian army had previously thwarted thousands of Russian attacks and neutralized thousands of Russian soldiers in this area. The Ukrainian army continued to prevent these attacks in November. The Russians carried out 22 counterattack operations in and around Bakhmut. Russian attacks in Bohdanivka, Kromove, Ivanivske, Klishivka were repelled by Ukraine. There were new developments on the Avdiivka front, where intense clashes continued. Russian forces organized offensive operations in Karamek, Stepove, Avdiivka, Pervomaiske regions. The Ukrainian army prevented 11 Russian attacks in and around this region. It seems that the Russian army will continue its offensive operations in the Avdiivka region. The Russian army has lost a lot of military personnel and equipment in this region, but continues to deploy troops to this region. The Ukrainian army has repeatedly stated that it will not give up Avdiivka and will defend this region to the end. It seems that the Russians will continue to lose in Avdiivka. Do you think the Russians will be able to occupy Avdiivka completely? In addition, the air operations carried out by the Russians in and around Marinka were unsuccessful. The Russians carried out 15 airstrikes in this area. These attacks failed. While the Ukrainian army's defense blocks on the Marinka front continue to strengthen, Russian attacks continue to fail. Ukrainian forces carried out 6 strikes on the areas where Russian weapons and military equipment are concentrated, and 3 strikes on the enemy's anti-aircraft missile systems. Missile units of the Ukrainian army damaged 8 artillery, 2 ammunition depots, 4 areas where Russian troops are concentrated, 3 anti-aircraft defense elements, a radar station, 3 radio-electronic warfare stations, and another important target of the region. Since the beginning of the war, the Ukrainian army has neutralized 307,640 Russian military personnel. The Ukrainian army causes the Russians to lose about 1,000 soldiers every day. It is wondered how long Russia can fight with the loss of so many military personnel and equipment. What kind of developments do you think will take place in the coming days?